please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Let's head across to Shireen. She's in conversation with the M&M's Pawan Goenka. Over to you, Shireen.
Well, thanks very much. It is going to be a busy week for CEOs and managing directors of auto companies as they line up here in the capital for the Mobility Summit, the ACMA, as well as the SIAM conference. Joining us now, live and exclusive, is Mr. Pawan Goenka. Mr. Goenka, appreciate you joining us here on CNBC TV 18. There's a whole host of issues to talk to you about, sir. But let me start first with what we've seen in terms of the tractor numbers, which is causing a slight bit of concern because for the month of August, we've seen tractor growth slow down to about single digits, 7% year-on-year versus 20% growth that we saw for the month of July. Is this a one-off on account of the floods that we saw in the northeast, in Himachal, in Kerala, which accounts for about 10 to 15% of your volume, or is there something that's changed in the market?
No, I don't think that there is a cause for worry. In fact, we had said that even in the beginning of the quarter, that this quarter, this year, the months of July, August and September would be slower than last year. And the reason is the last year, the festive season was almost a month earlier than it is this year. And tractor sales have a very high peak after Navratra, before Diwali. That's the reason July, August was going to be slow. And in fact, September will be also less than last year. And that is very much in line with what we had thought. So all of us are expecting a bumper festive season in tractor. But this quarter, which is different, cannot compare like to like from last year quarter, will be slow.
Okay, so expecting a bumper festive
I would admit, however, that...
Go ahead, sir.
I would admit that some of the sort of flood and all have had some temporary blip in certain areas, but as an overall industry, I don't think it's going to make a huge difference.
Okay, and you are expecting a strong festive season, but September also, you don't expect strong tractor sales to come in. Let me then ask you, sir, in terms of whether there is any possibility, any headroom, any levers that you can exercise to eke out better margins on the tractor business, which you've been able to successfully do.
Well, as I had said before, that margin growth will depend on input cost and will depend on the volume growth. The input costs are going up. The commodity prices have gone up quite significantly in the first 6 months, and they'll continue to go up in the last 3 months also. But at the same time, with the volumes going up, we do have an opportunity for spreading a fixed cost on a larger volume. And therefore, I think most of us will certainly try and maintain our margins and even try and increase a little bit, but it's very difficult to say till after the festive season is over.
Okay, you're saying that commodity costs are imposing some pressure on margins. Do you anticipate that if we see this current run rate as far as crude continuing and also the rupee depreciation, this is going to start to eat into margins?
Not much for tractors because tractors do not have a very high
overall, not just for the tractor business, but
overall. Overall, for automotive, I think there is also a balancing factor for most of us because the import cost going up because of exchange rate does get compensated somewhat with the export revenue going up again because of the exchange rate. So there is a natural hedge that most of us have against the foreign exchange. And the foreign exchange by itself should not make much of a difference in terms of overall margin because of natural hedge. Where the difference will come is if the foreign exchange artificially increases the commodity price of what we buy in India. And then, of course, it makes a difference because then it's spread over the full volume. Now, most of us have been able to pass on, till now, I would say about half of commodity price increase in the selling price. And about half is sort of balanced because of the growing volume that we have even on the automotive side.
But do you,
and therefore the margins have been reasonably well maintained.
But do you feel that you might be compelled to pass on more? You said that you've been able to pass on half of the commodity costs onto consumers. Do you feel that you will need to take price hikes now?
Well, this is a dynamic situation, and I don't think it's a situation of cost goes up, so price goes up. It's a situation of what the market will bear, what the competition is doing, and many other factors. And therefore, sometimes we are not able to pass on the full commodity price increase. Sometimes we may even pass on and compensate for past deficit that we may have on the commodity price increase.
Okay,
so again, it's very difficult to say exactly what will happen, but clearly we try very hard to maintain our margin and look at all avenues that we have.
So no immediate price hike is what I should then anticipate?
I cannot really say that because the price hike again depends on a lot of different things. And I think the last one that we had taken was on 1st of July. Normally, we will wait about 3 months before taking another price increase. But again, this is not a very fixed schedule. It can happen a little sooner or a little later. So I cannot say no price increase. But
so you're keeping the window open for the possibility of a price increase as well. Let me then talk to you about your new launch, sir, the MPV Marazzo. If I were to ask you for the kind of run rate that you expect with the Marazzo, I'm taking a look at the Ertiga numbers, the Innova numbers, which do about 5,000, 6,500 units per month. What is the kind of expected run rate that you are working with for the Marazzo?
Well, Marazzo, first of all, the launch has gone very well. The initial reaction is very good. We are preparing overall capacity for Marazzo and S201 that will be launched in few months to be about 8,000 to 9,000 vehicles per month. Together. Now, whether we sell more Marazzo or more S201, we are really not focusing on that too much because we have kept our capacity flexible. So let's assume half and half or thereabout, 60-40, half and half of 8,000-9,000.
Okay, so 8,000-9,000 between the two, that's the Marazzo as well as the urban SUV that you plan to launch. But what's the strategy going to be, Mr. Goenka, as far as the Marazzo is concerned? Are you looking at pushing this more towards fleet users, personal consumption? What's the strategy for the Marazzo specifically?
No, we have tried very hard to ensure that this is not seen just as a fleet vehicle. Of course, it is a fleet vehicle also. It is designed to carry people, but we are also focusing on families, large families, to do a vehicle that is very, very comfortable, spacious, premium internal luxury, premium internals. We have tried to do that, so that's for family. We are also focusing on families enjoying outside life or sort of weekend trips and so on. So I don't think that our volume will come only from fleet operation. Fleet operation will be one of the 3 verticals that we expect the volume for.
Okay, let me talk to you about what is going on as far as the JV with Ford is concerned. So you're revisiting the past as you look into the future. What is the game plan now as far as the Ford M&M JV is concerned? Have you worked out the details? And why, people ask the question again, are you interested in inking this joint venture with Ford, where the business perhaps this year has seen a decent performance, but otherwise, you know, it's seen a 1% growth in sales in India and the domestic operations in 2017. It continues to be a loss-making business. What is Ford bringing to the table for you?
Well, the Ford JV is a speculation, and I don't know where to start it
So
from.
is it happening or not happening?
What we have talked about is an alliance between Ford and Mahindra, and that alliance is very much in place. Everything that we are doing right now, we have announced it in the media. There's nothing new to talk about. We have an alliance on product development. We have an alliance on sourcing. We have an alliance on international operations where Ford might be able to help Mahindra a little more. We have an alliance for doing even helping Ford in terms of the network expansion in India. So those are the kind of things that we are doing, and there is nothing further to talk about beyond that.
So there is no JV that you are inking with Ford. You're categorically ruling that out.
All the alliances that we have talked about are basically cooperation between the 2 companies. It is not a JV.
It is not a JV. Okay, let me then ask you about what else is being speculated or reported on, sir. And the assumption is that since Ford's global strategy is now moving towards SUVs as opposed to sedans, that you will collaborate on mid-sized and compact SUVs as well as perhaps electric vehicles. Is that the plan?
That we have announced. We have already announced that Ford is likely to use one of the Mahindra platforms that we are currently developing, and Mahindra could be using a Ford platform for electric vehicles that Ford already has, ICE engine platform that we may convert to electric vehicles. So these have been announced, and all of these are right now MOUs, meaning intentions or intent. Okay. We have not yet signed the final agreement to do it, and that depends on many other factors. That depends on whether the business case commercially is viable, whether there is capacity available, and all of those things. So that work is going on. So there are 5 areas that we have already announced that we are collaborating on. One is a mid-size SUV platform. One is the electric vehicle using Ford platform. One is Ford using Mahindra's engines. One is on mobility, and one is on connectivity.
So you said that this is still at the level of an MOU. When do you hope to take this to closure? When do you hope to ink this final agreement? You also said that there are several other determining factors that you're currently weighing on, especially when it comes to commercial viability. When do you hope to close this?
I think 2 of these 5 are very close to getting closed. So within the next month or so, we should be able to announce 2 of these 5.